Hey everybody, Jeff Schneider here. Today we're going to do a loop of the day, and this one's going to have some really cool chords and voicings in it. Great for R&B, neo soul, jazz. First I'll play it through and then we'll break it down. All right, take a listen. So the chord progression is not too complex. It's a 2-5-1 followed by a 6. So we're in the key of C major. The 2 chord is D minor 7. Then we go to the 5 chord, G7. And then the 1 chord, C major 7. And then the 6 chord, well, it's technically the 5 of 2. It's a secondary dominant chord. It's an A7. And the A7 is the 5 of 2. 2 being the D minor. The 2 chord in C major is D minor. So we go from the A7 to the D minor. You can hear how that resolves nicely. So again, with simple voicings, it's a 2, 5, 1, 6, or 5 of 2, which gets us back to the 2, D minor. But let's talk about those voicings now, because that's what really brings this whole thing to life. So we're going to start with not just a D minor 7 chord, but rather a D minor 11 chord. And this is a fairly basic voicing if you just break it down like so. We have thirds stacked on top of one another. You can also look at this like a D minor chord in the left hand and then a C major chord in the right hand, but it's D minor 11. I put a little grace note in there. And then I'm going to do this arpeggio just to kind of fill the space. So I'm playing F, A, C, and then the G. You could do A, C, E, G or F, A, C, E. I like the F, A, C, G arpeggio. This is what it sounds like. So it's like 1, 2, E, and A. And then as soon as you play that arpeggio, you're gonna go into the next chord, which is the G7. But we're not gonna just do that basic G7 chord. We're gonna use this voicing here. Now this is a G13 with a flat 9. So I'm actually playing it with the root and the 7 in my left hand, G and F, and then in my right hand, I have A flat, which is the flat 9, B, E, which is the 13, and then I have the root on top, which is G. Another way to break this down is I've got an E major triad there, and then in my left hand, I have the root and the 7, E major triad in my right, and then I throw the root on top. So a couple different ways to break that down, but that is the 5 chord. Here's what it sounds like in combination with the 2 chord, arpeggio. Now notice when I do that, if you want to get really detailed here, I'm actually holding the G at the end of that arpeggio on the D minor 11 chord. Hold the G with my pinky, and then throw the rest of the chord down with my other fingers. And then we're going to take the same chord with a little bit of a modification. It's still going to be G7, but I'm going to play it like this. So now it's more of a G13 with a sharp 11 and a flat 9. I know there's a lot going on there, but check it out. At the bottom of the chord, that's the basic 3-5-7 of G7. I'm not even playing the G in this voicing because it's kind of implied from the chord below. So I just have the 3, 5, and the 7. And the way that I'm fingering this, by the way, is I have the B and the D in my left hand, and then I have the F in my right hand. And then on top of that, A flat, flat 9, C sharp, sharp 11, and E is the 13. Another way to break this down, you've got a C sharp minor triad there on top. And then I resolve that E note down to D as part of this implied melody, which leads us to the 1 chord, C major 7. Now here it's more of a C major 13 because I have some extensions baked in there. I have the root, the 3rd, and then the 13 there in my left hand. And then in my right hand, D is the 9, G is the 5, and B is the 7. Again, another triad there in my right hand, G major triad. Another way to look at this is by noticing the intervals. We have a lot of stacked fourths in this voicing. And then I have a 3rd on the bottom, and a third on top. I go over all of these different ways of analyzing and breaking down voicings and chord progressions in my course, Chord Theory for R&B Piano, which is included in my Jazz R&B Chord Accelerator, on sale now, but just for another week or so. It's good through the end of the month, that discounted price. So if you want to check that out, it's linked in the description below. But let's go back to our chord progression. So we have our C major 13, and then the last chord is going to be that A7, but it's not going to be a basic A7. We're not doing basic for this one. We're going to do an A altered. So here we have the famous tritone in the left hand, the 7 and the 3, G and C sharp. And then in my right hand, I have F, which is the flat 13, A, which is the root, and C, which is the sharp 9. So when I say A altered or A7 altered, usually that means some kind of A7 with a flat 13 and a sharp 9. Another way to look at this, as I said, we have the tritone in my left hand, and then this F major triad in my right. And I also add that grace note in there for some extra color from the G to the A. And then what I'm going to do is take this same voicing and invert it like this. So now I have the tritone in my left hand inverted. So now the third is on the bottom and the 7 is on top. And then instead of F major triad like this, I'm playing it like this. All right, let's recap real quick. So we have the D minor 11, the arpeggio, to our G13 with the flat 9, jumping up to the G13 with the flat 9 and the sharp 11, going to our C major 13 with all those stacked fourths, followed by the A altered or A7 altered, and then the inverted version of that, which leads us back to D minor 11. I'll play the whole thing slow without talking. One other thing you can do that's kind of cool is actually take that voicing that I just played, the A7 altered, and do a little sidestep motion where you go up and then back down, just by a half step. Everything moves up a half step and then back down. So that's another way of adding some extra chord candy in there. But all of these chords, as I said, I explain in my course, Chord Theory for R&B Piano, which is included in my Jazz R&B Chord Accelerator, on sale right now. I break down all of these advanced voicings and make them really simple, including how to construct chord progressions and reharmonize and analyze existing chord progressions so that you can make your playing sound as hip and interesting and smooth and soulful as you want. So again, you can learn more about that program linked in the description below or somewhere on the screen. And I also have another great video for you right over here that you can watch next and learn some more cool stuff on the keys. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.